It's 7:40, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us for one of four workforce workshops. I am Edgar Awume, Resident Services Manager at the Shelton. Before we do introductions and get things going, I would like to acknowledge Leadership Arlington and their collaborative efforts with AHP to gather these workshops. If you would like to know more about Leadership Arlington and the services and programs they offer, please let us know. Next, I would like to say that this workshop is meant to be one of conversation and dialogue. So please feel relaxed and ask questions. There are no bad questions here. Lastly, I would like to remind everyone of confidentiality. Please keep sensitive and personal information that may be shared here confidential. Also, let it be a guide in what you feel is appropriate to share with everyone. With that being said, I'd like to kick off this workshop with introductions. Please tell us your name, a little bit about yourself, and what you hope to gain from these workshops. First, I'd like to start with participating residents, then our other guests, and finally our presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. My name is Patty Tatro. I work at Virginia Tech. I have two kids. If you hear one screaming, I just put her in her crib. So, it's what life is all about right now. And I'm certainly not a Zoom expert, but I am on Zoom a lot. We do a lot of conferences on Zoom, lots of events, and obviously a lot of courses on Zoom nowadays, given the pandemic. So I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to share some tips and best practices that I have learned. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just kind of go through slides. And I really want to make this extremely informal. So please feel free to stop me if you have any questions. And we can learn all of this together. And I also know that, how Laura and Edgar, that this is being recorded, so you can always come back and watch it. And we'll also share this PowerPoint with you with different links of some tips and tricks and things like that. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I think the main thing is everyone got on, which is fantastic. And the waiting room, and I know we've been in this COVID era for over a year now, but it definitely was a really steep learning curve. So, the fact that everyone's able to get on is awesome. Here, one thing that we found really important is Zoom, just kind of like different phones, they're constantly upgrading. So to always make sure that you have the latest version downloaded, so you are not missing out on any of the fixes for interruptions and things like that. Make sure, with the requirements on your phone or on your laptop that you're ready to go. And I'll go to the next slide here, but how you can go directly on to the website, but then there's also an app that you can download. And this app has more functionality than the website does. So, I've included the link here for everyone to use if they want to download the app. And that can be downloaded onto a computer, laptop, tablet, cell phone. And the app definitely gives you more functionality as you go through. On here, I wanted to just point out that on Zoom's website, they have so many resources on how to make your Zoom experience even better. So I thought we would just start at the beginning with the user guide here and looking at the different icons in terms of scheduling a meeting. And I don't want to go through and read everything, but just kind of point some things out. You could use the Zoom meeting just like a telephone call, which is always nice if needed. Joining the meeting. And then on here, it seems like people know how to mute, unmute, show your video, not show your video. Just wanting to take like a pause here and just ask the group any, questions of, are there any particular struggles that you've had with Zoom in terms of getting on, or once you're on, inviting other people, or feedback that anyone's had where you get really loud noises while on Zoom? No. Good.
No.
One thing that's pretty cool is once you're in the application, you can invite others to your Zoom meeting. And I know whether this is a personal or professional type use, it's wonderful because it's international as well. I know I've used this to call my sister in Canada a bunch and to do FaceTime with her. One thing that's really great is if we all, I'm going to finish this, and then I think it would be fun to kind of play around with some things. So here, just looking at the different, the areas where you can meet and share your slides, the instructor panel, meeting ID, the fact that everyone got on today, that's fantastic. And then looking at, right now, just the share content. That's one thing. If you're ever in a meeting and someone asks you to share, if you don't have this green button at the bottom, then that means that you need to be made into a host or a co-host to share your screen. So that's really something that only if you are leading the meeting and set up as a host or co-host you can do. But I will say that the host is able to make you a co-host so you can easily share. And to do that, you would go to the participants, manage participants, and up at the, I don't know if you can see what I'm seeing, but there's 3 little dots. So if you all want to move your mouse over to Edgar, and you see the 3 little dots by him, you can see where it says ask to unmute, or stop his video. You could chat with him. There's also a pin function. So if you just want to focus on Edgar and what he's sharing or what he's saying, and you don't want the other videos to be popping up, you could just pin him, and then you could unpin as well, which is nice. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. And one thing that's funny, in the beginning of Zoom, talking about pinning and unpinning, I actually attended a Zoom wedding. And as you can imagine, there were so many participants, but I wanted to focus on the one little small window of the bride and groom walking down the aisle. So I made sure to pin them so I could blow up that image instead of watching everybody else crowding around the computer. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you hover over, you can do some wonderful things in terms of the view of where you see people. One thing also is, I know I've been on several Zoom sessions where one person's talking, and whenever they talk or they unmute themselves, there's this feedback, a really kind of loud noise that's piercing or an echoing. If that happens, sometimes it's because they called in on their phone and on their computer. So you're getting feedback from both places. So it's just really important that when you do log into a Zoom session, you choose whether it be on your phone or your computer, but don't do both, or else you'll get some feedback. So that's one thing that I've definitely learned throughout this full integration into Zoom. Also, sometimes I know in my household, with my son at home doing online school, my husband on the computer, I'm on the computer, our bandwidth can get really low. So sometimes my Zoom would shut down and then come back up. So in order to prevent that from happening, I would just shut off my video, and that would help with the bandwidth issue. So I could still see everybody, hear everybody, they could hear me, but they couldn't always see me. So that would, that helped in terms of my Zoom just closing or freezing on me, is just turning off my video. I work with somebody, and when it rains, they do not get good internet service. So they always have to turn their video off if it's a cloudy day or a rainy day. So just a few things if you're having some issues with connection. Oh, I see Edgar raised his hand.
Patty, I have one question that came up while
Yes.
you're saying that. So with the video, you're saying that if you have poor reception, sometimes if you turn that off, it would help with the bandwidth. I was wondering if there's an option where it shows as HD video. Could
Mm-hmm.
you downgrade the HD video and that help the bandwidth?
You know what? I think it absolutely would. So I know on mine, on my camera, it doesn't have HD, but some cameras and some laptops, they might have that HD component. So that's definitely important to turn that off if there are bandwidth issues. I also know that I need to minimize other browsers. So if I'm, on my email or other things that you can see, below, I have the internet pulled up, my email pulled up. Sometimes I need to just make sure everything's closed except Zoom in order to stay connected. So I know tonight would be okay because I'm the only one on the computer, but with both my son on video and sometimes my husband, it can be rather challenging. So, but great question. Also, this is when I was putting this PowerPoint together, I did a Google search on how to have, the most professional Zoom settings. And I will say there are probably hundreds, if not thousands of videos on how to make yourself look better on Zoom and what to do. So these are just some of the tips that I pulled from some of the videos that I saw online. Obviously, yes, it would be great to have cameras and special lighting, but for me, just making sure that there's a window in front of me and not behind me, that can help, because if the window is behind you, as we all know, it just kind of makes you blend in with everything, and it can be really hard to actually see your face. So also in terms of setting up, I don't know if we wanted to take time. So we see that Jamie has this beautiful beach picture behind her. And I love that. I also have several colleagues who were using virtual backgrounds because they set up their little office in a closet. Or even a pantry. So I love the fact that we have virtual backgrounds. So I just wanted to maybe, ask everybody like if they know how to do that, or maybe we could all take a moment to do the virtual background. So because I'm sharing, I don't see it, but there's usually a caret at the bottom where you have the video. And there's a caret that goes up. Let me go back to this screen.
And if you're joining on mobile, all you do is you tap your screen, and then all the way over to the far right-hand side, there's 3 dots and it says more. If you click that, and then you click virtual background, you can have a pretty
there
mousy
you go.
background. Hey, you like that?
I love it. I love it. And because I'm sharing my screen, for me to do a virtual background, I would click the 3 dots and it says choose virtual background. So I'm just going to do a standard one where I'm in a field of grass. Or this blur where it kind of blurs everything behind me. which is nice. I know that with kids running around, animals in the house, dogs, it can be distracting to people who you're working with, or even in interviews. And as Tiffany will talk about later, there's a lot of interviews right now that are happening via Zoom, and that's always challenging. So it's nice sometimes to throw up a virtual background. You don't have to worry about what the space looks like behind you. One thing that I also did is, if you go to some of these really fancy furniture stores like West Elm or Pottery Barn, you can download a virtual background. So if you go to West Elm virtual background and then download the picture, it will look like your house is out of a magazine. So it's actually really pretty and it looks realistic. I wish I had one of those saved here. I did have a few people say, "Oh wow, did you redecorate? Is this yours?" So it's a really fun option. See, there, Jamie has one right there. It's fantastic. It's one thing that people use all the time. So, and then we'll go to the next slide here, and then testing. So, I'm so great. Oh, was there a question? Okay. So with with your background, it sounds like everyone was able to introduce themselves tonight, which is fantastic. I actually bought, I think, these headphones at CVS because the audio that came from my computer was so low. Plus, I do have a lot of background noises at home. So this is something that I just literally plug in, and it really helps. It helps me stay focused on my audience and stay focused in the meeting while not being totally distracted by things that are happening around me. So I found that to be helpful, and it also helps the participants hear me better since there's a microphone right here. So, it's wonderful. You don't need to get anything fancy at all. Like, for example, this is just like that. I better plug back in. So there we go. Can everyone hear me after I had this unplugged? Okay, good. That scared me for a second. Does anyone else have any stories or situations or tips of what's helped them be able to hear better or present a more professional look while they're doing Zoom, or something like throughout this experience that has helped them?
I found a really inexpensive ring light. I'll turn it on in a minute. I have to plug it up to the computer. But I found it at, it was either Aldi or Lidl. You know how they have the little fun owl? And I think it was like $5. But when I feel like I need more lighting, especially when I'm presenting, I'll plug it up. So I'll show you in a second. I'll plug it up.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then they do have more expensive ones, but you don't have to get I think they probably even have them at $5 or below for like $5.
And it's nice, especially if you're interviewing, just to feel like you're fully prepared, that you're really presenting, that you're comfortable. That's really what matters, because that comes through when you're on Zoom. So
one thing that happened to me, I had been using Zoom on my computer a lot, and then one day I used it on my phone, and it was just different enough that I kind of panicked and I couldn't figure out how to talk. And I was sorry that I hadn't tried that in advance of the meeting that I was trying to get on. So the formats are just a little bit different from each other. And the other thing that I have to pay attention to is I've got a dog that'll start barking, and we'll see if she does it tonight. But I have to be very fast with my mute button to make sure that everybody doesn't hear my dog.
yes, that's true.
And I just turned it on. I don't know if you can see the difference. So that's on and that's off.
Yes, it looks great.
That's really nice. I can tell the difference.
Makes a huge difference. Yeah.
It does look great. And one thing that I saw on some of these Zoom tutorials and videos is using just books or boxes that you have around the house to prop things up. So it's kind of nice how resourceful people are getting too. Another tip I saw, and I don't have a pop socket on my phone, but if you do have a pop socket, you can hang it onto a mug, a coffee mug, and then kind of situate yourself so it's a nice angle. And you can go ahead and set up a Zoom from your phone if your phone has that capability. So, yeah. Also, when you're on Zoom, you can, and you mute yourself. If you just need to say a quick comment, you can hold down the space bar and that will unmute you for a few seconds. So Tiffany, try it out. Try it out. Hold on to the space bar and say something.
I didn't know that.
Yes, there you go.
I didn't know that either.
So that's one thing too, that if you are on a Zoom meeting and you're trying to do other things like type emails or search and you're hitting that space bar, just know you're unmuting yourself and muting yourself. So.
Is there one for video that is a quick, because your kids can just like
come in and out.
Okay.
That's true. I wish there was, but I think that's more of a manual process. I will say I love seeing the kids come in. It just makes things real, right? So
I think it humanizes everyone. It's been a nice change. Yeah.
it is. All right. So yeah.
I stumbled upon keyboard shortcuts. And it says start and stop video Alt V as in Victor. Does that work?
I just did it. Did it work?
I don't know. I didn't watch.
No.
It doesn't look like it worked for me either.
How well?
Yeah.
I never knew there were shortcuts.
Yeah, no, that's good, Jamie. I mean, there's a lot out there. So I will just mention a few things in terms of, what to kind of keep an eye out on is the professionalism with comfort. Everyone is now like, oh, especially if it's a professional setting, don't replace that with comfort. And just know, especially as Tiffany and later folks will get to, it's, the way you present yourself, even if it's on Zoom, is so important. There was one Zoom video where it was hilarious that someone had to say, don't forget to wear pants and change out of your pajama bottoms because, people might knock on your door and you need to get up and get it. So it's just funny, the types of things that I never thought people would be saying, and now they're saying. So, and with the second bullet, as much as possible, is seen for distractions. It's extremely hard nowadays, but one thing that's helped me is always the headphones. Eat before meetings. It's one thing that I think is hard, especially going from Zooms to Zooms. And as any parent knows, when you're sitting down, it's finally a break. I know I like to eat my breakfast sometimes around my 9 o'clock, but many times I have meetings. So that was my New Year's resolution, to try not to eat. People get an up close vision of your face while on Zoom, and especially if they pin you, you don't really want to watch them zooming in on you. We don't know what others are doing. So the fourth one is always funny. This, don't Zoom and drive. And it's true. There's so many distractions. So, and if you do need to get on a Zoom, you can always do the hands-free. So you're not trying to show your face, just make it more of a Zoom call and pull over, right? Also, one thing to always know, and this is something I did not know, but you can chat. So I could send Tiffany a chat just directly, and I could say, oh boy, this Patty's going on forever. She is so boring. Well, I can see, because I'm a host, I can see all of the messages that are sent. So never send a message via chat that you don't want other people to see. Very important. Again, mute yourself when you're not speaking, just all the background noise. Don't be late. Now there's no excuse, or at least that's how people view it. One example is my birthday was in February. In an 8:30 meeting with my team, I was literally 2 minutes late. And everyone was texting me, oh, did you take off today? Are you not coming in? Because they were all going to sing me happy birthday. And, they were excited. And I was 2 minutes late. I wanted to get that extra cup of coffee in. But because there's no commutes nowadays, every minute people are sitting there just waiting. It's different. So that's one thing to try to be early to Zooms, as opposed to a few minutes late. And again, we did talk about the lighting and the different camera angles. As I mentioned, if you have a pop socket on your phone, hooking that to a mug and then putting that mug on a few books, you'll look like a news anchor. Like, it will be beautiful. So, and with that, I just want to open up and see if there's any questions. I know we did some introductions already, but I'm happy to go through things, or maybe if we can hear about other people's stories of what they've encountered with Zooms, or things that they've that anyone has struggled with and maybe learned.
Patty, I have one thing to share. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can go. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. I was just gonna share an embarrassing story with Zoom. It was during an interview, and I wasn't accustomed to Zoom, or did I know? And I just learned today that you're supposed to close all your applications, and I'm one of those people with multiple tabs open. And in the middle of the interview, my computer shuts down.
Oh no.
But thankfully I was able to get back on, and I said, I'm so sorry, and employers and interviews are understanding of technical issues. So don't be fearful of Zoom.
Yes.
It's my
Yes. That's a good one, Jamie.
Yeah, Patty, I was going to say that I wanted to reiterate what you said about not being late. And one thing I try to do is that if it's a Zoom link that I have never used before, I kind of factor that into my time and try to kind of log on first and see if it takes me to where it says host will let you in soon.
Right.
Just so that I am at ease with that everything is working and I don't have the wrong link or I need a password. So I always try and carve out time to log in and see if it's working before the meeting actually starts. So that's one.
Great advice.
Is the free version of Zoom. I know that since I get Zoom through my employer, that I don't know if there's more capabilities with, one thing I know for sure is that you only get 40 minutes with free version and then it kicks you off.
Yes, then the meeting automatically will end.
Are you able to so let's say that you have an understanding with someone, it's an informal meeting, you go up to the 40 minutes and it shuts you both off. Can you then start another meeting or does
Edgar, that's a great question. I'm not sure, but I can certainly look into that. Because that would be a workaround, right? So if you get booted, then it's like, okay, well, we'll sign back on.
I think you can. I think you can.
Okay,
yeah.
So you can turn around and it doesn't log you out for any moment.
I think you just have to restart the new meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a little bit of a deterrent if everyone's already there and then it shuts down.
I think it's the host, how long the host is able to log on. So if everybody tonight, you just clicked on the link that we sent, you're not going to get kicked out. if you're not paying Zoom money because AHC has an account. So
Right. Right.
the host.
I
Then my
just-
second, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll wait till you
And my
finish.
second question is not really a question, but the whole virtual platform and Zoom, and I know that because of the pandemic, it became a tool that we've been using, most companies have been using. But as we move away from the pandemic and we go back in person, I just wanted to get a sense of, do we think that most companies would incorporate virtual just like as another tool? Because like Patty was saying, there's no more excuses for being late, even though they might be doing in person. Just, I guess, speculation on how people would incorporate that, employers will incorporate that into their new way of doing things, since that most of us have gone in with 1 year of Zoom under our belt.
I don't think it's going to go away for the mere fact that now we're even talking about allowing people not to live in the same state, right? You can hire somebody from somewhere else as long as they have the capability to log in. So I do not think it's going away ever. I think this is part of our new norm. The one thing I did want to say, because I saw Nasir's daughter, I think, helping him, and everybody has kids. That is the perfect way to figure out how to use Zoom. Our kids, you know, they learn faster than we do. A lot of them had to quickly learn how to navigate with the virtual school. So everybody said they had children, so call the oldest one, or maybe even
That's right.
You know, I know my 6-year-old grandson can navigate, get them to help you, show you the tools.
Yes, Tiffany, and also play around with it. So one thing I wanted to point out, but it was hard to do sharing a screen, but right where you could choose a virtual background, I wanted to just mention a few things. On the virtual background, they have the standard ones that are preloaded into Zoom. There's a plus bar where it says add image or video, and that's where you can upload a photo. So you can go where it says add image or video, and then you could choose any picture that's on your computer that you want, or your phone. So that's something to play around with. Another thing I wanted to point out is where it says virtual backgrounds, next to it, it says video filters. So on here's things that are, you know, kind of silly. Got my beret, my cute little headband, a little hat. But what's even better, and I'll go to this, is the studio effects. And this isn't even better, but it's just something that's there. You know, all the really big eyebrows are in. So you can see mine now. Do I need a little lipstick? Maybe. So you can choose like lipstick and different things. If, you know, if I'm a man, I got a mustache. So just some fun things to play around with. I will say that it goes through, like if you drink something, you can see it. Like you can see my mustache on my finger. So just be careful. I'm gonna go ahead and turn these off. Also in the same screen, where under settings, if you go to video, and this is going to be my little secret. I learned about this because my boss, her skin looked flawless. And I'm like, whoa, did you get a new face cream? Because you look great. There's something called touch up my appearance. Here's my, I need to take these eyebrows off. But here's kind of what I normally look like. Hold on, let me get these eyebrows off though. There we go. Video, or to kind of, if you are really tired, you can smooth out your skin with touch up my appearance. So that's always a nice option too, especially if your lighting isn't great in your house. So, or if you just want to look a little fresher, you can enhance your face with touch up my appearance.
That is fancy.
Right?
I didn't know that that was there, and now I love it. The the one thing that I kind of wanted to point out is I know that this has been very Zoom specific, but if you're interviewing and you get an invite through a different platform, because Zoom isn't the only platform, a lot of these tips and tricks apply to all of them.
Mhm.
You know, make sure, move a lamp and make sure your lamp is in front of you instead of behind you. There are probably backgrounds there as well. So just, you know, the muting and the video turning on and off, both of those things. The benefit of these tricks and tips, which is hard to say, is that even though these were Zoom specific, they translate to other platforms.
Yeah. Really great, Lindsay. Thanks. Wonderful. Well, again, the Zoom website, they have so much, it's a wealth of knowledge, as well as Google, and then we'll share this PowerPoint. But please know that this is a starting point. If you ever have issues, we're here for you. With Zoom, we can even practice, or with any other video conferencing platform. We're happy to help. So. Great. Edgar or Brad, I know Brad will be talking next week regarding personal finance. So I don't know if he might have had to step off. Oh, there he is.
There I am.
Just to
I
kind of,
had to do some child herding for a second.
no worries.
Yes, next week will be personal finance. So I'll kind of cover a pretty wide range of topics. If there are anything you want me to cover, please reach out to Laura or Edgar, and we'll go from there. But I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to cover. But if you have any questions, bring them or even submit them ahead of time.
Great.
I also want to add at this time that if you have any technological challenges, being that you might want to be on Zoom with us, but you don't have a computer, we do have resources. We can loan one to you from the Shelton, and for the 4 weeks, and then when you're done, you can return it. So I just wanted to also point that out. Don't let that be a reason not to attend. I like that we're on and that we're practicing being on video. I know that it's getting comfortable and it's a big step, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I know that in most meetings, employers encourage you to be on video. And if you don't practice on video, you wouldn't get comfortable. So I urge everyone that when we meet for the ensuing ones, everyone did well today, but when we meet for the ensuing workshops, when you're asking questions, definitely do turn on your video. It helps with the interaction. It helps the presenter as well. They're not presenting to just a name. So I encourage more people to do that. I don't know if this is a good tip because I myself don't have it. So I don't know if I should give it as a tip, but even when you don't have your video on, you have a nice picture of yourself. I have myself, when I turn mine off, you see me in a I don't know if that is professional, but maybe that's something that people can work on and have a nice headshot. I think I can get away with it because I work with children, but I don't know what everyone else thinks about that when you turn off your video, that picture important that shows up.
I think it is. It's a differentiator. It gives that more of a human touch. So I think it's wonderful, Edgar. And that's something under your name. You can just click on your name and then you can go ahead and add it.
Any
And
other
I think-
questions? Sorry.
I was going to say, I think that's something that everybody's children can help with also. I tutor middle school students, and they don't have their own photo. They have little cartoon characters and stuff. So, there are different things that you can put on to make yourself stand out. So I did put a second survey in the chat. And again, Mr. Egger will email you all of this, but there's one survey that was about what you learned tonight. And then there's a second survey about what you want to learn at the next session. So it is a little confusing that I have two different ones, but every week we'll have one about what you want to learn the next time. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Any other questions? If there's something that Patty went over you didn't get, I know a lot of you tried out the virtual background. Do reach out to me if you have questions, any that you didn't think of tonight. But it's 8:31 right now. I think we've been on for close to 1 hour. I want to respect everyone's time. If there's no further questions, I want to thank everyone for taking time in your evenings to be here, being that most of us here are parents and we know that our children always want our attention. So if there's no other comments and tips, I'd like to say again, thank you for joining, and we'll see everyone next Tuesday, the 27th. Please try again to get here on time like you did today. And again, thank you and have a great evening.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank
You all have a wonderful night.
Good
You
night.
too.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Great. Good job, Patty. I thought that was great.
Okay, I was like, I don't want to keep reading this, but we're just gonna chit chat here. And Jamie, I know I told you I was gonna give you an email after our meeting this morning, but it was very informal. So I'm like, oh, I know I promised that, but anyway.
No
Yeah.
worries.
Well,
It was a
that
great
was
start.
great. So,
It was. We have
All
five in attendance out of the 6 that signed up, so I think that's a
yeah,
great start.
that's good.